You are now tuned to BS3 Network.
All right, welcome to the Fourcast. We review movies, films, documentaries in a completely different way, 4 different perspectives. Right now, it is the 2cast. Doc right now is in Arizona at Super Bowl week, so he may or may not be able to pop on. Wilkes should be on shortly, but it is myself, Ben BS3, and the one and only H-Rap B in the library. What's going on?
I'm good, man. What's good? Let's get this popping.
Yeah. All right, so I'll just say this. This was perfect for the forecast. You know, it seemed like these past couple of weeks, and A-Trap recommended quite a few of these that we've been really hitting the stride in some films and documentaries that were perfect for what we do. So this was another one that was really right up the alley, man. Just really went through the films of the 70s for Black films, Black exploitation. It just really dived into a lot of different films and documentaries that we've actually done, which I thought, I was proud of us that, some of these we've reviewed, thanks to our suggestions and our thoughts. So we'll be doing tonight, Is That Black Enough for You? And this is on Netflix. I would highly suggest you watch it. Obviously, if you have Netflix or you got somebody with a Netflix account, you know what to do. But Netflix is planning on shutting that down real soon, so you better get in and watch it as soon as possible.
I mean, what they gonna do? That's crazy. They need to stop.
They about to do everything they can.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think.
Like me and my children.
We know what we doing.
Me and my children, we got the same Apple account. We share an account. We share the same Apple IDs. How they gonna say we don't live together?
Yeah. Now, YouTube TV, they know, because my sister has a YouTube TV. And I was using hers for a minute, and it was like, whoa, the main account is in Georgia, and you're in Texas. Something's not right here. So eventually, they sniffed it out, but I don't think Netflix.
I'm visiting. I'm a traveling salesman. You can't stop.
Yeah.
The hustle never stops.
You can't stop the hustle. You can't do it. Golden Brooks in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Living a life like it's golden. So, yeah, man, Is It Black Enough for You? Film critic Elvis Mitchell examines the craft and power of African-American films released from the landmark era of the 1970s. I'm going to just say black. I don't really like saying African-American because it's not really true. It's more so a term that someone gave us. But anyway, came out 2022. Shout out to Big Illinois. What are you going to say?
No, I was just saying, Reverend Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Reverend Jackson.
Yeah.
Jesse,
you're right.
You're nasty.
Jesse.
Jesse, if you're nasty.
Definitely, if you're nasty. I like that. I'm going to have to use that one day. All right, so we're live on multiple platforms like we always are. Roku TV, BS3 TV on Roku. We're also on YouTube and Facebook, so make sure to check us out, BS3 Network, The Fourcast, End of the Bench. I'm just now thinking about this, but we could go live to End of the Bench if you would be interested in that one day.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just dawned on me right now, so my bad. I should have said that a long time ago.
It's all good.
But let's get into some initial thoughts. Is that black enough for you? I think it's really, for me, I feel like I said, this was perfect for us. I feel like it was a tad long, but I get what he was trying to do because he was taking you through a journey of movies, like I said, throughout the 70s. But also he just touched on different genres, so he broke it down really well. So I know it was a tad bit long for some people probably watching it, but I think the way he went about it, I felt like it was perfect.
I agree. It was a bit long and it was a bit drawn out, but it was very informative. And to touch on what you were saying, it got to the point where it was repetitive.
Right.
He was starting to say the same things over and over again. All in all, it was a very good documentary. It walked me down memory lane. I remember a lot of those movies. The only thing I didn't like, my initial thought was, why didn't he just he was walking us through chronologically through
Right.
movie, but he would always be like in 1978, and then he would show a 1972 movie.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Keep up with your pace.
he was hopping around a lot,
Yeah.
which I get. He was trying to tie the films together, but it,
Mhm.
it was I looked up and I was like, man, well, I'm like an hour in, and it's 2 hours and I think 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was wondering how much of this did he edit or did he just use all of it, because it just seemed like he really wanted to get all the possible information out of it.
Yeah.
Pastor Dodd, thank you for tuning in. Just Joe in the building, thank you for tuning in. But yeah, I felt like he could have wrapped it up,
Yeah.
and then he went to Sidney Poitier in the beginning, and then he kind of ended it with Sidney Poitier. I don't know if that was kind of because he passed, he wanted to add him in
No,
again.
he was still alive when this came out. This came out the middle of last year. Sydney was still with us.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah. And then, like I said, it was one of those situations to whereas great information, very informative, but like you said, the editing was extremely poor because it wasn't keeping up with him.
yeah,
He was too all over the place. I think if he would have just walked us through the end of this, because he did from 68 to 78. If he had walked us
right,
through the end of the 60s, showed the parallels in the 70s, show how mainstream America took our ideas and turned them into a franchise as usual. And
yeah,
then, hey, I think what would have done him a world of good was the fact if he had mentioned the stealing of black tickets, because I don't know if you remember this, towards the end of the 90s, early 2000, end of the 80s, early 90s, you had to ensure that you were getting tickets that said what you were going to see because they were pulling the bait and switch.
yeah, yeah,
You'll be like, I'm going to see Minister Side. They'll type up a ticket for Gone with the Wind, of course,
right,
not Gone with the Wind, but they would
yeah,
type up a ticket for a popular white movie, and we wouldn't get credit for our box office, which
yeah,
makes me ask the question. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. What about The Wiz? Because I
yeah.
don't know many black people that didn't see and or enjoy The Wiz. So I find it extremely difficult to believe that The Wiz sucked at the box office.
That was hard for me to believe too. Now I'm sure they did spend a lot of money on it. Obviously, you had Michael Jackson, you had Diana Ross, you had all of these stars in it. But yeah, my parents still to this day, they were the ones that really put up me and my sisters on The Wiz. So that was a generational film. So I am shocked that it did not make the money that they were that they were saying. There was a couple mouth dropping moments in this that I was like, I can't even believe that. So yeah, that was shocking. That was hard for me to believe.
Yeah. Because I'm watching that. Man, I remember when the Wiz like they showed when Stephanie Mills was on Broadway. They had Wiz plays all over the country. And
Yeah,
then, Diana Ross was the hottest thing in the world at that time. I
yep,
find it extremely difficult to believe. I mean, there are very few people of that time that didn't love the Wiz.
yeah. And it was an early mic. I mean, like to me, I don't know how you couldn't like that movie. It was better than The Wizard of Oz to me. That was, and it goes back to again like what they talking about in the film, just how things are copied, and they're the soundtrack thing that blew me away. That they will release the soundtrack first before the film, and then white films started doing the same thing. They would release the soundtrack first. So we are most of the times we are the creators and inventors of things, and everyone else comes in, and not everyone else, but particular race comes in and takes it, and they basically copy it. They don't even flip it. At least we flip stuff. They just carbon copy it and just use it exactly for what for their game.
Yeah, man, and it's a sad commentary because I mean this ties right into the things that we complain about now.
Yeah.
What is
You said it was black. We were making moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was all the way black. Blackity black, black. Yes.
Yeah. It was super black. It was super soul. You had, like you said, you had Michael Jackson, the eventual king of the world. You got Diana Ross, who was, they used to call her the boss. I mean, you had Nipsey Hussle. He was wildly popular on game shows and other things. You had Lena Horne. I mean, dude, Richard Pryor in it. I mean, you had everybody named Mom in it. And again, this was a period in time when if you did something black, we used to go in herds to check it out.
Yeah.
So for them to say we didn't go see that, I find that insanely difficult to believe.
Yeah, me too.
But
me too.
Like I said, I think he didn't delve into the black exploitation thing enough. He skated around it. He Henry Louis Gates it, man.
Yeah. I was thinking about Henry Louis Gates.
Yeah, he Gates
and there was a lot of your boy in here. There was a lot of Fred Williamson.
Fred.
I couldn't wait to get on here because I was like, man, Fred Williamson was all over this joint, man. I think he had a love relationship with Fred Williamson.
But see, that's the thing, man. Fred was the man in the 70s. Fred was and see, that's another thing, man, that Cotton Goes to Harlem. Gravedigger Jones and my man, I can't think of the other man. He didn't get into it deep enough, man. And Godfrey Cambridge, dude, it's a lot. This dude didn't bring up Black Belt Jones. This dude didn't bring up Chuck Turner. It was a lot of movies that cats my age and older, we used to really get into them joints. And it was like, you ain't even touch it, man. And it was he Henry Louis Gates it, for lack of a better term. And that's what took away from this. It was informative what it took away from it.
Yeah, and I think it was more quality over quantity. It seemed like he just wanted to dump so many films in there, which was good. But I think maybe just highlight a certain number. I can't even say how many films he went over because it seemed like it was so many.
Yeah,
it was so quick and back to back to back to back. It was hard. It was kind of hard to keep up at times.
Yeah, it was definitely a rapid fire thing, man. And like he didn't like he didn't like Fishburne. He was supposed to show, in my opinion, he was supposed to show how you got cats like Fishburne who turned themselves into real stars from black exploitation. You don't hear the name Robert Townsend.
Yeah.
Robert Townsend was in Cooley High. I mean, you in a situation like this, you traditionally see the beginning, the middle, the end, and then what came from it. Right. He didn't do that. No. He did a horrible job at it. Again, he had this love affair with Sydney, which is dope. Sydney's the man, but it's more than Sydney, man.
Right. So, and it kind of opens up and says the word black is the title. Finally, truth in advertising. And it talked about, I got Doc's notes tonight as well. So I'll be kind of going over some thoughts that he had down. But he basically said 1 decade forever changed the movies and me. So I think this was honestly his journal of movies. I don't think it was really about necessarily the viewer. It was like, I'm going to share the movies that I love. which is fine, but also you gotta kind of play to the audience to be able to kind of tell a story. He wasn't really telling the story. It was
No.
just kind of like I'm gonna lay all these out there, and this it is what it is. One of the interesting things he said was a bow tie was for working when it came to black people. When they had a bow tie on, that means that they were the servant or the step and fetch it or whatever. And I didn't, that was an interesting comment. I didn't really see it that way. I don't know. What would you think about that?
At that point, yeah, because you ain't had no militants. The militants came when you had guys like Black Belt Jones, Truck Turner, movies like Three the Hard Way. That was the militants. What if you wore a bow tie? Think about it, man. Everybody back in the day who wore a bow tie used to buck his eyes real big and really your boss.
Right.
He was right.
And they had a towel across their arm.
Yeah. The towel across their shoulder, across their forearm. It was you were my man Friday. You were the flunky. You were the dude who was just present.
Yeah. That's a good point. And Whoopi talked about there ain't no black people in this movie, and that, man, I tell you, my parents, we watched a lot of black films because my dad is really one of those people where he wants to promote black. That's a black coach. That's a black quarterback. If that's a black film, whatever it is, he wants to promote that. And I wrote down, in every horror movie, if it was a black person in it, the joke was they died during the credits. They ain't even make it past the credits. When the murderer or the horror lead was coming into the film, he was basically slashing the black person early. They didn't even make it. Like, so that, to me, most black people would be familiar with that because they're not going to make it through the whole film. And if they do make it through the whole film, it'll be more like an afterthought, them doing a throwback. Like, you remember Ricky when, Ricky didn't make it, and that's basically what he's going to be in. That's basically how it's going to be. So,
hey, remember the TV show Different Strokes?
Yeah.
And as they aged out of those roles, the kid that played Dudley, me and Dudley the same age. And he was in one of the Friday the 13th movies. And at the very beginning, and Dudley, something happened, and all you see is Dudley getting wide open because Jason is chasing him, and you like, hey, damn, whatever happened to Dudley? Nobody ever talked, nobody ever says whatever happened to Dudley. Dudley just was there, and then he wasn't.
Yeah, and it was just like that.
And usually in a horror movie, you see the person dead or something. You never saw Dudley again. You just saw him running. So
that was it.
Like, we used to be like, yeah, Dudley is the only dude to ever get away from Jason. Like, Jason couldn't keep up with him because Dudley got wide open too.
He just ran off into the sunset and never came back.
Yeah, he never came. Oh, you remember that?
Yeah.
You never saw Dudley again, even though he got a real name. We gonna always be Dudley, man. That dude is Dudley. Just like, it's like Carl Anthony Payne is cold, man. He ain't Carl Anthony Payne, he's cold.
What's good? I believe that's Big Mo. Wrap it up. Appreciate you for tuning in. Golden Brooks just giving a shout out to Joe. I love the people that they sat down with and interviewed. Obviously, Samuel Jackson, he was great for this. Zendaya, I guess they wanted to put somebody young in it and maybe showing her perspective, but I was like, well, they had Whoopi, Lawrence Fishburne, Harry Belafonte, Glenn Thurman, and Antonio Fargas. Those are some of the people that was in it. And so I wasn't really feeling Zendaya. I don't know.
Yeah, again, this it's like, is this your first project, bro? Because it's too discombobulated. It's too all over the place. If you're gonna use these dudes, I don't know how you do this without Roundtree. I don't know how you do this without he was gone at the time. Kelly. Jim Kelly, the original Jim Kelly, Kung Fu
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Right.
And you know, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. He left out some people that could have been added. Rucker Park in the building. Thank you for tuning in. Looks like you got a photo in the car, but that'll work. Always update that Abby.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He left people out, and so Harry Belafonte, which I thought this was interesting.
Mhm.
He said he turned down movies during 1959 and 1970 because it didn't represent Black people well.
Mhm.
And Sidney Poitier took, I don't know, one or some of those roles. So it seemed like they had a little bit of a beef, back in the day. I don't know
Yeah.
if they've squashed that and probably talked it out at this point. But
Yeah,
give me your thoughts on that.
I've heard about the disagreements that they've had, and people questioning Sydney, and I've even heard things about Bill and Sydney, that Bill told Sydney he would be the jokester and you could be the straight man kind of deal, so
Mhm.
he could maintain a certain level of elegance and things of that nature. So you know, it's an age-old situation in our community, whereas people are going to say what they're gonna say and look at you crazy and be like, hey man, blah blah blah. You shouldn't have done XYZ, or I shouldn't have done XYZ, or whatever, whatever. So
Yeah.
you know, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, that you know, I speak on it frequently on the end of the bench. This civil war that's going on in our community is never ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Snowman in the morning. Thank you for tuning in. 7 a.m. Monday through Friday on BS3 TV. Make sure to check that out. Yeah, and I think really it comes down to the person. What was Sidney Poitier going through during that time? Did he have a family to feed? Did he want to just use this to get in the door? And maybe Harry Belafonte was further along. I don't know the intricate details of it, but Sidney later on in his career, maybe not later on, but in his career, he kind of switched sides, and I think people became more respectful of him, or more respectful of his work. But another big thing was Buck and the Preacher, which they worked together, which we definitely need to review that one.
Mhm.
But to Harry Belafonte saying that project was not supported, that
Mm-mm.
was another thing that surprised me. And I don't know why it wasn't supported, or maybe it was more so supported later on. But I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that.
Again, it goes back to the thing to whereas I don't know if we are getting an accurate an accurate representation of our viewing these movies. I remember being a young person when Buck and the Preacher came on TV. It was a thing. And this movie came out when I was 2 or 3 years old. So it was 72,
Mhm.
73.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, Buck and the Preacher was that deal. And it was that deal before I was aware of it.
Right.
So how is it that everybody watching it at the crib on the late show on Friday at 7, at 11 p.m. or whenever the late show came on, 10:30, 11 o'clock? Why was that an event then and it's not an event at the theater?
Right.
But somehow, some way, the Mac and Superfly get all the credit they can have.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That part was definitely head scratching. And to have those two legends working together. Shout out to Cole Sports. Thank you for tuning in. That's Cole Johnson. Shout out to him for our promo. He's done a lot of variety of promos. And I sent that Pootie Tang to you, A-Trap. I know you definitely gonna use that. That was Cole
So,
Johnson as well. You can check him out on Fridays at 2 on BS3 TV. This project sounds rather disjointed in terms of focus. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it did.
it was just so all over the place
Mhm.
that it was hard to keep up and hard to track. 1968, Portier changed to not being black lead roles, is what I put down.
Mhm.
And another comment that came up in the movie: black man in a role, an unrepeatable phenomenon like finding $100 in a subway, like during that particular time, which I felt like that was that comment spoke volumes because I think that was 100% true. You know, we got whatever roles we were able to get, and most of the
Yeah,
time it wasn't leads.
yeah. And that was primarily the purpose of people like Melvin Van Peebles and what's his name? I can't think his name. They mentioned him several times. Gordon Parks.
Gordon Parks,
That's why they started making those films, man, to showcase us, to make us look. And like I said, man, this was informative, but I won't say it was the greatest documentary ever, simply because he missed so many things, man. He missed and maybe what you said is correct. This is something in regards to his opinions, his point of view, and I guess all pieces of art are that. This is how
Right.
you see the world. This is what's going on in your world. Therefore, maybe we get lost in the sauce, but this dude, I'm assuming, is years older than me. So how is it that I have a better grasp of this than he does?
He does, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And, I mean, I'm just looking at so many different, like Godfrey Cambridge was the man. He was snarky. He was funny. He was black, and it was just like he made this one towards the very end. I hate to jump to the end, but hey, man, like
Oh, you good.
he mentioned the black superhero and the Tuskegee experiment, right? He was like, they was like, they took Captain America's origin story and supplied it to this one black superhero. Did you remember that towards the end?
Yep.
This lets me know homeboy didn't do almost any research because the original Captain America is a black man.
Yeah, right. Which they did in the series Winter Soldier and the Falcon. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah. I think he just basically was his opinion, and basically he got the vote from Netflix, and they just put it up there.
Yeah,
I don't know what it seems like. What happened?
What this kind of reminds me of is the Madam C.J. Walker movie, produced by LeBron James, and they show what her name, Maddie. I can't think of her last name, Maddie.
The one that they're saying she basically stole the
Addie
product.
Malone.
Yeah.
Addie Malone. I ain't even have to look it up. It popped in my head. Addie Malone. They made her look like this light-skinned hater.
Yeah.
And I'm like, LeBron, you know, you gotta do a little better than that. And everybody got caught up in the fact that it was a Madam C.J. Walker movie, but Sister Malone wasn't that hater. She didn't do that, and she went on to do to have several philanthropic endeavors. Also, they made it seem like she died a bitter old lady, and you know, it's just the way you present these things really make a difference in regards to the truth being told. This is the whole concept behind the CRT argument as we speak. We must tell history accurately, otherwise you'll be lost forever.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we must tell the accurate truth, or the lies will continue to be told.
Yeah, man.
What it comes down to.
Yeah, and you know, even our brother Spike Lee, you know, at the time, he was the blackest filmmaker in America. You know what I mean? He blacker than Bill Duke, he blacker than Melvin Van Peebles. He was this radical dude. And even though to this day it's one of my favorite movies, when you read the book and you watch that movie, you like he left out some key figures like Malcolm's sister Ella. She was paramount in his development. This dude named Bimby, another dude, he the one who told Malcolm, man, get your act together, man. You one of the smartest cats in this penitentiary. And his brother, what was his brother name? I can't think of his brother name. Filbert. Filbert was a dude who turned him on to the Nation of Islam. And I understand for creative purposes, you have to condense certain things, but you can't tell the Malcolm X story without talking about Ella. You can't tell, it's just Bimby was extremely important. Bimby was that OG that we always say that is lacking in the community today. So
Right.
this dude did the same thing. He condensed everything. As long as Train smoked, so you can't say, hey man, it wasn't long enough. And then you condensed it and took things out.
Yeah. And that's a great point with Malcolm X. I think we get into, or filmmakers get into this, it has to be entertaining. So in order for it to be entertaining, you got to leave some stuff out. And that's where that based on a true story kind of thing comes in. It's going to be more of a theatrical film than it is really going to be 100% the truth.
Right.
And, same thing with, with any film that's out. Till, which that was based on a true story. I'm sure they probably left some things out, maybe left some details out. So, yeah. So, in most of these films, they're going to have Malcolm X, not Malcolm X, excuse me, Martin Luther King, which they talked about his death in 1968 and how that, excuse me, kind of changed the trajectory of some of the films that were coming out. So I felt like that was good to see. And in most things we've done that's anything to do with the 70s, is going to have MLK's death in it. Because I think that influenced music, film, everything.
Yeah. It most definitely did, man. It's influencing the world to this very day. You look at things, everything is framed around this social structure. Malcolm X, Dr. King. If you look at television and you look at things that are going on, you would assume that Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was a very popular individual, and he wasn't. Yeah. He changed the world without the support of primarily our people, which is sad.
Yeah. D, great. Thank you for tuning in. Side note, how you feeling about this Cowboys exit? I'm sure you probably already been talking about it. Chief in the building.
Cowboys exit?
Yeah, the Cowboys didn't. I mean, they got knocked out of the playoffs. It was a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Cool McCain, thank you for tuning in, man. Host of the Eagles Elite, co-host of on a blank Play Callers. Appreciate you for tuning in. Gonna watch it. It's on my list. I would definitely recommend watching it. Give it probably an hour. If you can't stick around after that hour, I don't blame you. But it did really take a deep dive into it. He said, "Men, let it go." Maybe talk about the Cowboys. Yeah. All right, so Isaac Hayes, which got his first break on a Western. Now, I'm sure he was probably making music before then, but that's when he got his I guess movie score break. Did you know that on that particular
Not at all.
Western?
Not at all.
I didn't know that either. Yeah. And that's where the nuggets, there was a lot of nuggets in it, but I think it was so overcrowded with so many movies, the nuggets kind of got watered down a little bit because there was so much other stuff that was going on.
Yeah, man. It's and again, man, he, as you stated, this dude was giving us, it was just like he opened the faucet and let things run out. And it wasn't making sense. It was no cohesiveness to it. It was informative. It was impactful at times, but it just didn't have any rhyme or reason. And when you don't have rhyme or reason, you get people lost. And I believe if properly put together, that 2 hours seems like 45 minutes.
Right. Exactly. It really could have been an hour if you limited. All right, we got Wilkes in the building. How you doing, sir? Everything good with the car? I can't hear you. Can't. All right, we'll get him back.
All right, what about now?
No? Yes. Low, but I can't hear you.
Guess it's gonna be the
Yeah, if there's any way you can turn it up,
Yeah,
turn the volume up any.
What about now?
Still low.
No. What about now?
Still low.
And it says automatically adjust the volume.
Let's get to some comments. Cole says Isaac Hayes' first score wasn't Shaft. That's cool to know. Now, was that the score, or was that just the song in the movie?
Yeah, that was the song in the movie. He had the title track.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily the score. Wilkes?
Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's low.
Yeah. All right. Let me leave. I'll be back.
All right. But yeah, that was his first kind of break in a film, and it was a Western. I didn't get the name of it. I did not get the name of it, but yeah, I thought that was dope. He said, "I see Lil King Dark ain't on tonight. You must be in the pool in Arizona." He's probably sitting in a press conference right now. Hopefully, the Chiefs or the other team's press conference. They said Wilkes must be on house arrest. I see you, Chief. I see you, Chief. With the jokes. So Robert Downey Sr. was a director. I did not know that. I knew his dad was somehow involved in films, but I didn't know he was a director. Was that something that you knew?
I knew about that, but you know what it meant? It had absolutely, positively nothing to do.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I had to, it's weird. I don't know what happened. It was, I don't know. The camera wasn't that. Sorry.
Well, you good. You good. You came in perfect timing as we're talking about, obviously, is this black enough? And it seemed like it was just all over
black
the place.
enough, or is it long enough? Which one? Which one is it?
Yeah. Did you feel like this film was all over the place?
Yeah, I did. At you know, I have to say when it started, it had me hooked because I grew up watching these. Of course, this is way out of my time. You know, this would have been around my parents and maybe A-Trap's wheelhouse. So for these characters, they were definitely heroes. You know, and kind of like we've always heard, you know, we finally see ourselves on the big screen, or we see one of us on the big screen, and you know, it's kind of like you know, you made it on the Johnny Carson show. Like if you made it on Johnny Carson, like we doing it. So yeah, I mean, it had promise, but I didn't realize it was so long because I did start it a few months ago, and I realized I guess I was only 30 seconds in, but it just seemed long at points. And then it just kind of bounced around. I don't really know what I don't want to say I don't know what the point he was trying to make, but I felt like he was kind of all over the place sometimes and just kind of bouncing back and forth. Like he didn't stick with one movie and say, well, you know, this is a metaphor for this, or a lot of Sydney references. And that may be the ending kind of explained. The ending kind of explained because he did interviews obviously directly with him, I guess, in his last days. But yeah, I felt like sometimes he was kind of all over the place. It probably didn't have to be as long as it was, but I mean, just watching some of these clips from the movie, I mean, it took me back to watching them when these movies came on TV, or when your parents had them on VHS, or you caught them reruns. But yeah, I enjoy. There's some of these movies I actually would like to watch because some of them I've never heard of or had never seen. So I definitely would like to check out some of them. I may go back and look up the list to see what's what and what kind of grabs me. But yeah, no, definitely with the Rocky one. I know I'm jumping ahead, but the Rocky one, where that one I was never really heard that. It wasn't from the Stallone movie. That had been done before from Joe Frazier.
Right. Yeah, that part was like, wow. I never heard it in that way. At all, but it does make sense that, you know, things are taken and used in different forms. I mean, that's films, period.
Yeah.
Cole says Robert Downey Sr.'s films were weird.
Woody Allen-esque.
Oh, a bit. bit.
Yeah, and that was the tie to Tropic Thunder. I don't know. Tropic Thunder had
Yeah.
some. That's where that character came
voiceover.
from.
Yeah, I guess that voiceover that he did for the character he had, and so I guess Robbie Downey was using that kind of like, well, my dad did it for the movie back in the '60s, you know. So he sounded just like him. They had the same voice. I was like, geez.
Yeah, man. You know, anytime I hear Robert, anytime I think about Robert Downey, I think about Junior, and I think about In Less Than Zero when he walked in that room and they had it on the wall. Julian gives good head, and then he turned into a crackhead for real.
He did.
I can never think of him without thinking Julian gives good head.
You can't think any differently. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
So
I think
Julian,
Iron Man saved his career, man.
for y'all.
Can't erase that.
No. Anytime they put it out there that you give good head and you a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. As the kids say, cringe, man. Cringe.
Yeah.
My daughter kept going around saying cringe this weekend. I was like, "Will you be quiet?"
Where are you getting that from?
Yeah.
Shout out to Ozzie Davis. I love the parts on him.
Underrated.
Definitely underrated.
Underrated.
Talked about him in Slaves, and it talked about some movies that he actually directed, which I didn't know that. So I mean, like that was, I felt like that was a lot.
I think I only knew of one that he directed, but I didn't realize some of these cats, man, they got like 5 movies under their belts. They got like, you know, I mean, put some stuff out there, man.
That's quite a few that we don't know. Which I think that was good of having so many films. Which that's a good and a bad thing. He had so many, but I think you were able to say like, wow.
I think what surprised me about this is that, you know, it's one of those where, you know, these movies may not have done too well at the box office. Some of them might have, but today it's like they're blueprints, they're footnotes, they're references from comedy to stand-up to movies today. You know, just like that Billy D movie, Hit. I need to watch that. You know, we've seen so many Mel Gibson movies like that. We've seen so many Guy Ritchie movies like that. It was like, you know, and then that one movie where we've talked about how, you know, which reminded me of Bill Williams. Is it Bill Williams, the informant that the CIA planted to kill? That movie where it was kind of like it was a black James Bond kind of movie where they had black people infiltrating.
The spook who sat by the door.
Sat by the door. That's a dope book too.
Yeah, I was like, man, I need to watch this. You know, it's like, but you've seen these movies today, and it's like, okay, we laid the blueprint in a sense for that kind of espionage, spy type movies. You know, and then we complain about, oh, James Bond can't be black. Why not? We pretty much got a movie like that.
Right, exactly.
What do you mean?
Yeah, the swag of Idris Elba playing James Bond. I mean,
yeah, they wouldn't get it, man.
Hands down, all the women coming to see that.
Yeah,
get out of here.
That alone,
go ahead and give them the role, man. Go ahead and
but that's
the
the
role.
key.
Stop playing around.
But that's the key. That's always been the key. We cannot continue to put these black men. I mean, just take it back 150. You know, take it back to the movie he did towards the end, Mandingo.
Yeah.
The sexualized black buck that attracts white women. Let's just be honest. I mean, we ain't checking them out. But James Bond is the sexiest man in the world, per se.
Yeah, right. I know what you mean.
He gets all the women. He got the slickest rides. He got gadgets. He got bread.
The drinks.
Yeah, the drinks. He the sexiest man. You know what? He is the Dos Equis man. He's the most interesting man in the world.
Pretty much.
So you put that on, you put a black face on that. What are you saying?
It's another coming to Billy D. Williams personified.
Right. Whoever you make the black James Bond, even if it's not Idris Elba.
Right. But still, it's gonna follow.
It is cinema's version of the heavyweight champion in the world. That's the baddest dude in the world, right there. James Bond.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because to A-Trap's point, that's how I kind of felt like toward the end of this this documentary. Like Sidney was kind of like the Denzel Washington at that
He
period,
was.
or he's pretty much the Denzel Washington. I mean, he's directing, he's acting, he's in there. I mean, he just became that. Well, I can't say. I guess you can't say became a Denzel, but he opened the door for the Denzel Washingtons. I guess.
Right. He was Denzel before Denzel. Yeah.
How about this? He the Spike Washington.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I can go with absolutely. Yeah.
He's everything. Because Sidney was think about it, man. Sidney Poitier slapped a white woman in a movie.
Man,
in the 60s.
In the 60s.
Wow.
In the heat, in the height.
And he lived to last year.
Yeah. Right.
And then you go on to be playing the background. Remember we mentioned that last week. Well, I mentioned it last week about Eddie Murphy. I said it's awesome to see Eddie Murphy mature to the point where he could play the background.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. When you get to that point, I think he mentioned. I think A-Trap mentioned it last week. When you become that Robert De Niro, that when you can fall back because your name alone is going to carry weight.
Yeah.
There at that moment, you're in a moment where, I'm just going to step back and let these young actors or even some seasoned actors, not as seasoned as me, but I'm just going to fall back and be the supporting cast because I've been here. I've done all this. So I'm just here to, offer my 2 cents or whatever and make this thing happen pretty much. And I picked that up immediately with Eddie Murphy. Even when he walked into that restaurant with that shirt on.
Yeah.
You could tell this was an Eddie Murphy, like, man, I'm back. I've done this. I haven't really left. I've been doing this. To me, this is like going to sleep and waking up. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
second nature.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. I'm sure like telling that Farrakhan story.
Yeah.
I'm sure he just like they were like, just come up with something. We trust you.
Right.
I'm sure there was a lot of scenes.
I'm sure he pulled the SNL off top of the head at that point.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the range and the chops and all of that. Cole says, I agree with A-Trap. Many people could not deal with the black man being like Shaft 2023, only more suave and wealthier.
Yeah. No. I believe that's why they ain't let Snipes do the second Shaft. The second iteration of Shaft. He was supposed to be Shaft. I mean, we got mad love
during that time,
But think about who Wesley Snipes presents himself as, and think about who Sam presents himself as. Nah,
right. Yeah.
Wesley is more Richard Roundtree than.
I mean, the second one didn't do very well, but it was that typical. We want the Samuel Jackson that's dropping MF. We want that, but like you said, he's not that smooth. He's not that Wesley Snipes. He can't that persona. Wesley's been that. If you've watched Wesley's movies, even Demolition Man, Wesley had that. He had that smoothness. The lines were quick. He was witty. I mean, it was just, absolutely.
Yeah, even the Marvel movie. I don't know. I'm coming blank on the name. Even Blade. Blade was so smooth. You didn't know what he was. You just knew that Wesley Snipes was there, but that was anybody else. I don't think they would have been able to.
Hell, even in Art of War, he was that same person. Mm-hmm. He was just he had that he could deliver like that cadence. He could just make you like, man, this dude is he killing it at the box office, man.
Yeah, I mean, and then and that's again, man. It's like this dude just what he did. He handed us an Encyclopedia Britannica of movies.
Of black movies, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's all he did.
Yeah. Because then he did documentaries too. He did AKA Cassius Clay. He did some other films that really didn't have, I don't think what it was necessarily perfect for this era.
Hey, that movie is not called AKA Cassius Clay. That movie is called The Greatest.
Right. Really? It is.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Like this dude, and bruh, that Three the Hard Way movie, bruh. Growing up, if you had two homeboys who was into that type of joint, y'all was fighting over who was Jim Kelly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh yeah, you fight. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now you wanted to be the lead man. You were gonna be that character. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm
Like, you know, as a little kid, you ain't realized that Jim Brown and Fred were the real leads, and Jim Kelly was the other guy.
Right.
Yeah.
But you wanted to be that character though, because like you said, it's like, yeah, you got the leads, but there's always somebody that's like, man, but this person right here, they still in the show.
Yeah, and that was Jim Kelly.
Absolutely.
Like Samuel L., but he said I like Samuel, but he's comical to me. Wesley Snipes would have been better. May have been around the time Wesley dealt with the tax. Yeah,
it was before that.
And to his point, he's absolutely right. Samuel Jackson is becoming that like profanity comedic relief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because we know him for dropping motherfuckers and all that. And
right. If you see him, you know it's not going to be.
You know it's coming. Yeah, I mean, even in this, when I watched him getting interviewed, I was waiting for him to just. It's like that's his punchline, you know.
Right,
so he's becoming that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when I watch him, and I've watched his movies that are kind of like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction, he bleeds that era, that 60s, that 70s. Yeah. He's acting like those characters. Like he's pulling from those movies, like Coffee and Shaft and maybe Uptown Saturday Night, but Hell in Harlem and stuff like he's pulling from those movies.
And to further affirm Wilk's point, y'all know in Snakes in the Plane, that one scene was not, when they ended the movie, that wasn't in it. And they were like, he didn't do it. And so they went and re-recorded just that scene. So
this week can say that.
These snakes on this plane.
He's become that. He's become that profanity king of comedy, pretty much.
Right.
Like,
and that was a movie. If you guys have seen The Kingsman, I think it was the first one.
Oh yeah,
he was the villain. That was a little bit. He was funny, but that wasn't Samuel L.
Well, he was in an independent movie, which I love the hell out of. I think it's called Formula 57 or Formula 51.
Yep.
I think it's Formula 51. Mm-hmm. But he's a villain in that too. He's a drug dealer, but in a sense, it's crazy, man. Like he's got like the formula in his head to this. In a sense, it was like ecstasy back then. Yeah. But him selling it to like the highest bidder. But I love the hell out of that movie because it was a different Samuel Jackson from what I was used to.
What we're used to seeing.
Yeah. Right. But Formula 51, that was an interesting movie. It was an independent. It was a British movie, but it was good.
Yeah. Man, Melvin. Oh, go ahead.
And see, that's what I'm saying about this, man. I'm not even really into black exploitation, but and this is gonna make me sound ridiculously arrogant, but I could have done a better movie than this. Seriously,
I don't think you're wrong in saying that. I mean, this literally felt like, I mean, look at the way it ended. It ended with Sidney Poitier, and it just went off like it was.
I was like, is it over?
That's it.
And Wilkes, this is what we said before you came on. It was basically a diary of his movies that he liked. That's the sense that I got. It wasn't I'm trying to take you through a story. Yeah. I'm just gonna take you through the films that I liked and how those films connected to
films I researched.
Right.
Yeah. I can see
because how do you highlight Richard Pryor? You got Cleavon Jones.
Yeah.
You highlight Richard Pryor. You don't mention that Richard Pryor co-wrote Blazing Saddles. Don't mention Which Way Is Up. Yeah. You don't mention.
You barely mention Buck and the Preacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't mention a piece of the action. You don't mention. He does not mention Let's Do It Again.
Until the end, where he's trying to hypnotize. What's his name? I can't think of his name, but he's trying to hypnotize. What's his name in the bed? Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
come on, man. It's like,
Good-
yeah.
Good
Hell,
question.
you didn't even mention the Bill Cosby movie. What was it? Is it up? It was not Uptown Saturday Night. What's
Uptown
the other-
Saturday Night. Let's do it
Uptown
again.
Saturday Night.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah,
Action.
Bill Cosby was an afterthought. He didn't really touch on him at all.
Didn't
Yeah,
really,
you
yeah.
know.
And Bill Cosby was in a lot of notable movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, during that era.
Think about
Cole,
it,
so
man.
Cole, have you seen this? Because you really this question. Yes, he did touch on Melvin Van Peebles
yeah,
quite
quite
a
a
bit.
Barely.
A little bit, quite a bit, but then it was it after that. I mean,
Gordon Parks, he touched on him. Sig
I think
Shore,
he mentioned one.
You mentioned
A little
Sig
bit.
Shore, but it was just because Sig Shore did
Oh gosh, I literally just saw it. Wasn't it?
yeah, he did.
dude. Superfly.
Was it Superfly?
Yeah.
That was his.
I was thinking Dolomite. I mean, not Dolomite. The Mac, but that was.
Yeah, it was the Mac. It was the Mac.
Yeah.
The same
And
thing.
Rudy
Superfly.
Ray
But
Moore,
pretty much the same thing.
he didn't really touch on that. He didn't touch on
He didn't
Rudy
really
Ray
touch
Moore.
on
he only showed a snippet of Rudy Moore when he was taking his shirt off.
You
Superfly.
cannot talk about the 70s without talking about Rudy Ray Moore.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, Petey Wheatstraw, the devil's son-in-law, Dolomite. You know,
There was no Flip Wilson reference.
there was no Flip Wilson in this. And it's like, dude.
And you barely saw Red Fox, and that was when he was acting in that movie.
Yeah.
When it was Cotton
He
Comes
didn't
Around,
even say his name. It
never
was just
said
you
his
seen him.
name.
Yeah, you just seen him in that.
Oh, it is
movie, but that
Superfly.
was
He
it.
said Super. Yeah, I
It's
thought
Superfly, okay. I thought
Yeah.
it was. That's why I said I thought it was Dolomite, but
as I said, Perm dude. I couldn't think his name.
yeah, it's Superfly.
Yeah, and so speaking of Superfly, a good kind of segue. Curtis Mayfield, man, this dude, I did not know that dude is a legend. 5 soundtracks. He released soundtracks before the movie, and that was Melvin Van Peebles and Curtis Mayfield were the ones that kind of initiated that. That got the buzz for the movie. Yeah, I mean it's genius. And we reviewed one or two of his movies. Claudine, which was one of the soundtracks he did. He also did Superfly.
Mhm.
But Superfly, they really went into, we don't want this film to be in theaters because of what it displays. And excuse me, O'Neill was basically saying, we just showing the real, what it really is.
Mhm.
And I felt like that goes with music, film, and a lot of different things. We don't like what we're seeing, but they're showing you what really happens.
And you know what the sad part was? You don't do the Bill Cosby joints. You don't mention Red Fox. You don't mention Flip Wilson, but you mention Gordon from Sesame Street.
Oh man, yeah, right.
That one.
I mean, and was that really his? I mean, nothing's really significant there. Like H-Rap said, like you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And
you
talk about how
Gordon played a pimp.
impactful.
That was his whole point. Gordon played a pimp before he was on Sesame Street.
I mean, and you talk about how impactful Pam Grier was, but you only mentioned
Coffee.
You didn't talk about how she took over the action role in like Foxy Brown.
You didn't mention Big Bad Mama.
Big Bad Mama. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that was he showed one clip of that, and that was it when she shot the chain. That was it.
Chain.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't know. It was just, and like Ben said, and I didn't catch that until Ben mentioned it. It just seemed like a diary of the movies he liked. You kept touching on that terrible Blackula movie, and I was like, bro, this movie is straight garbage, bro. Stop.
Yeah. He loved a lot of interesting
Trash movies.
Trash.
Yes. Yeah, keep it real. Curtis Mayfield was amazing with soundtracks. He was. That's a shame. Pam Grier was one of the biggest stars in that era. Now he
barely touched on her.
He did say that she was one of the 4 women that was successful in film, and I think the other 2 was.
Was it Linda? It's the. Oh gosh, The ladies of
Diamonds
today.
Are Forever. What's that? Right?
I can't think of the lady's name. We said one lady was named Barbara and the other one's named Liz or something like that.
Liz. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. But yeah, 7 groundbreaking films. I don't think he actually said all of them.
Golden. It was trash. Hot
Yeah.
trash.
Hot garbage.
Yeah.
Smoking
I don't.
garbage.
So
Good point.
yeah, so it was. He didn't. I think he could have done more with less.
Yeah.
I think he could have really condensed this down to an hour. Maybe hit the major films in that era.
Oh, another. He didn't even mention Ruby D. He only mentioned Ozzy. That was it.
Yeah, true. Shout out to
we didn't
Travelmatic
see,
for tuning
and
in.
we
Make sure to
didn't even
subscribe
see,
there.
she just passed. I think last year. Was it last year?
Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll, but no. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name. And I think she was in Rolling Thunder. Hear My Cry. No, I can't think of her name now. Cicely Tyson.
Oh yeah, he barely mentioned.
He did.
Or did he miss
a young. It was a young
okay.
Cicely Tyson.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cleopatra Jones. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
And I think Clarence Carter wrote the soundtrack for that one. Clarence Carter, thank you, Clarence Carter.
I mean, stroking.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was just a collage of films.
Yeah, really.
Because
it was a montage of just over back to back to back to back to back. It was.
Yeah, it was almost like, hey, these are the movies I watched. I'm gonna write this documentary, and I'm gonna give you my point of view from these movies that I watched.
Yeah, right.
And I know one thing. After watching this, I was like, man, Spike Lee the man.
Oh, because he could have done all these.
Yeah, he could have murdered. If you give this same budget to Spike Lee and say make it, this would have been epic.
It wouldn't even be. It wouldn't have been a question.
Yeah.
If he redid Coffee and Shaft, Buck and the Preacher, I mean, no, he would have.
No. I mean, this documentary. If you say,
okay. Well, I was thinking more of
the Spike Lee.
But the documentary, it would have been, the documentary itself. But if you had him redo some of these movies, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, Spike Lee definitely.
Yeah, and A-Trap said it. This might have been his first documentary because it says he's a film critic, so that means he probably writes about films. But I don't think, I don't think he's actually, done this type of thing. Now, a question from Doc. He said, Mario Van Peebles, why do you hate him, A-Trap? He seems to be a game changer. I think he may be confused with Melvin.
Oh,
Melvin was
maybe Melvin.
Yeah, Mario.
Keisha said he was
poxy,
cute.
Really.
Mario was more of the.
Keisha said he was cute, so I started hating him.
That's the only reason.
It's simple.
Yeah, it's easy.
But I did like how he talked about the story of the janitor cleaning up in that area. And basically, Melvin paid the guy to say, "Hey, this is a good film," and that's how. What was that? Watermelon Man? Is that how Watermelon Man? I think that.
So they was like laughing at it, and he kept asking, "How do you like it?"
Man, it's a really good movie. Yeah, y'all need to definitely. Yeah, it came to screen. Yep, from the black janitor, and that was his focus group. That's how they got that film out. And Watermelon Man, I thought was a great idea.
Hey. You know what was dope about this, though? When speaking of the Van Peebles family, Melvin understood. See, this is the governance structure. You hear me speak about this a lot. The governance structure versus the social structure, right?
Yeah.
Melvin used the governance structure to get money for his movie. You got the janitor dude, and you slip him a double,
right?
And say, sit here and laugh.
Because in a sense, he's the boots on the ground.
Exactly.
He's the guy. Like, man, if the janitor
he was the audience that was gonna watch that film.
Exactly.
And they knew that.
So the janitor, it kind of goes back to that comment they made about the spook on the front. Was the spook on the
set outside the door?
Well, the janitor, like they said, a smiling black man goes unnoticed. So, and he was a janitor playing that role. So, yeah. let me get the janitor to boost this movie, because nobody's gonna ever like listen to the janitor. I mean, but the janitor knows all the gossip. He got all the keys. He knows your business. So it's like, yeah, it's a great movie. Y'all need to watch this. Of course, I'm gonna go to the janitor.
Right.
Why not?
Do you hate Mario Van Peebles because he dated Pamela Anderson back in the day?
No, I hate Mario Van Peebles because Keisha said he was cute.
Yeah, this is why right here.
Right?
Oh, did I miss Marvin Van Peebles? I mean,
every day I got to prove my love.
But I thought it was great to hear his perspective as a kid watching his dad do his thing. I feel like that was
pretty awesome. Yeah, that was pretty.
I mean, you know what, man? It just, I'm tripping on Mario Van Peebles, but let's not forget. Let's see, I'm a little older than y'all. I'm a lot older, y'all. Let's be honest. I'm like, no, I don't mean it in a condescending.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, no, because
you got a little bit more step on us.
Yeah. But see, this is why, Wilson, I would like to hear your opinion on this. Because you younger than Ben, right?
Yes. No, I'm older than Ben.
One year older.
Okay, well,
82 and he's 81.
Well, actually, I still need to hear, because he's old enough to remember when you say black on TV, black in theater, and we went there like herds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm old enough to remember when Mario hit the scene. Mario and Blair Underwood hit the scene as the next dudes. They were in front of Spike.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially Blair Underwood, because Blair Underwood, when he was on LA Law,
he was the next Denzel.
He pretty much. Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely.
I'm old enough to remember when Denzel was on this TV show called St. Elsewhere. He was a doctor.
As a doctor. Exactly.
And I remember him leaving St. Elsewhere, and folks was like, he gonna be a movie star? I mean, he cute for TV, but he ain't gonna be.
That's where he and check this out. To H-Rap's point, you had, well, if you watch Boy Meets World, but we know him as Knight Rider, the voice of Knight Rider, Kit. When you had him on there, if Denzel's outshining him,
yes,
we know how popular Knight Rider is.
Also, Hasselhoff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like one of those things. It was like Denzel is bound to blow up, man. And he even had a few more TV, like TV to movies, movies to TV after that. And then he blew up.
Then he took off, right?
Yeah, he took off.
Yeah, Cry Freedom. And then he hit Glory, and then it was
over. Yeah, and Glory that was it. Oh gosh.
But to Will's point, Blair Underwood was supposed to be the next dude. He was supposed to hit LA Law and then take off, but he made the mistake of being in black protests, and they was like,
he started turning roles down. He started turning roles.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened. So that's what happened. He started.
He showed himself to be black.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
he started turning roles that he was like, oh no, well, I can't act in that.
I ain't doing that. And this is the beauty. This is why. And this is the question we want to ask you. And I'm gonna ask you right after I say this. This is why it just boggles the mind how Wilkes. What's the chances on everybody in your family not going to see The Wiz?
Oh my gosh.
They beat us for that one.
Yeah.
They cheated us with that.
They cheat. Yeah. I couldn't believe The Wiz lost money.
Yeah, me too.
I was surprised to hear that, because you got Michael Jackson, you got Diana Ross.
That's all you need.
Two of the big stars.
Who else? What?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Diana Ross was the joint from the 60s.
From the Supremes. And Mike from the Jackson 5? Really?
And then, hold it. Lena Horne was in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Lena Horne was the fairy godmother. Come on. She was the like Glinda.
She was the fairy godmother. Yeah, she was the good witch.
Yeah. Like, come on.
And look. And that's what I'm saying. No, don't tell me that we didn't go support The Wiz.
Right.
Bruh.
I can't buy that, man.
Let me tell you something, man.
And Cooley High? Are you?
Stop.
He talking about Cooley High? What?
He
Really?
gave you this much of Cooley High.
Yeah.
Come on.
Look,
He
Paul,
didn't give
let me
you.
tell
He
you
didn't.
something.
He didn't give you
I can't
enough.
ride
Yeah.
with some of that.
I know my mother used to take me and my sister. She's in the chat room. She used to take us to this movie, ironically, on Harper Court. And that's my mother's married name, Harper. I only remember going. Now, my sisters used to take us to the movie. She used to give us money. I only remember my mother taking us to a few movies. Sparkle,
Oh.
The Wiz, and there was one more movie. I can't think of it. But I remember us going to see The Wiz on Harper Court.
Oh, absolutely. It was a big
He-
deal. You had to go
No.
see it.
He didn't really touch on Sparkle. Was that in the 70s?
Yeah,
He
that's in
didn't
the
mention Sparkle.
70s.
He didn't mention it.
No, he mentioned it. But remember, all he said was the big sister in Sparkle should have been a star. Like,
oh yeah,
no,
and they only showed like one clip, and it was
yeah,
a
they
close.
just
It
showed
was
them
one
giving you
image,
something you could feel, and that was it. Like, come on, man, you made more headlines with Curtis Mayfield than you did with Sparkle.
Right.
Come
Right.
on, son.
Yeah, you're right, Cole. Morgan Freeman was an electric company dude
Yes, he
before
was.
he started. Yeah.
And then he said he was in a movie that he was just in the background. He mentioned it.
Yep.
He highlighted him in a movie in the background. I can't remember which movie it was.
You had Quincy Jones scoring the
Oh yeah,
Wiz
and then
too.
you had Quincy Jones on the
My brother watched
soundtrack.
that movie every 4 months for about 5 years. Man, that to me, that was my parents ingrained in me that was the Wizard of Oz.
And then you
Okay?
got
the Wizard of Oz
you
was
got,
not the Wizard of Oz. The Wiz was.
And then you got Diana Ross with a solo. You got Diana Ross with a solo in this movie. What?
No, what blew me is when he read the critics' review of The Wiz. Again, governance structure versus social structure.
Right.
Hey, bro, I don't know a black person from that time that didn't see The Wiz twice.
I hated The Wiz, yeah.
And if it wasn't significant, they're literally doing live action of The Wiz.
Right.
What are you talking about, bro?
And that's who this guy is, though, because he's a critic. So he probably read that to basically prove his point.
If I'm not mistaken, did Nell Carter, did they not like, I could have sworn, didn't they even reference, what Nell Carter, like they did a Wiz snippet on Give Me a Break?
Bruh.
And she was Dorothy?
Hey, man.
Like,
what's the
He's on Down the Road?
What? Man. Can you see a brand new day? Come on, man.
What? Come on, man.
Yeah, I didn't believe that.
But see, that goes back to Wilson. You wasn't on yet. Me and Ben were talking about how in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, we had to ensure that we was getting black movie tickets.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
They did that with The Wiz.
Especially with the late 80s, early 90s being a resurgence.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She's got to have it? What? School days?
School days.
Come on. Talking about?
Yeah.
Come on, man. What
house
party?
Yeah.
What? Come on, man. What
and then it's just
Beverly Hills Cop? What? Come on, bro.
And then how do you understand? How do you stop in 1979? Because look, just to show you how we bleed into every decade and every situation.
Yes.
Get this. When he stopped in 1977, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Now, 77, a song come out with the Isley Brothers called Fight the Power.
Yeah.
10 years later, another song come out with the soundtrack being Fight the Power.
Right.
Don't tell me Chuck wasn't influenced by Ron Isley and his brothers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Come on, man.
Absolutely.
He said Cole said Brand New Day was written by Luther Vandross.
And was that the Luther Vandross when he was the backup singer to David Bowie?
Or a backup singer to Patti LaBelle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm a backup singer writing songs, man. Come on, man.
Right.
Come on, man.
That's how it started. Fight the Power from the Isley Brothers was
80, 81.
1988.
Oh, that was 77.
They got to be 70s, I thought.
No, let me look it up.
Maybe he's saying 1978. 1988
was Fight the Power. Maybe that's what he means. But
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up.
And did he hint at the fact that they wanted Pam Grier to play a role in Star Wars? Was he hinting at that? Maybe Princess Leia or some character? He seemed like he was
Maybe.
hinting. Like
Maybe.
I can't imagine.
Maybe. Now to the point of people playing roles, kind of a side note. I
Yeah.
seen Nia Long was doing the interview, and she
1975.
Sick.
Okay. Nia Long was doing the interview, and she was saying I had to fire agents and managers because they were offering me roles that I didn't want to play. And she was saying, like, I've been broke before. I'm not just gonna do a role just to say I'm gonna do a role.
Right.
And I felt like that was that was right in line with with this, because she kind of took a break, probably from what
for a minute. It's been
about 10 years. About 10 years.
From Best Man to like now, really. She kind of took a long break.
She did like 2 movies. She did like 2 or 3 movies in the last 20 years. And Best Man, I'm counting that as one movie.
Yeah.
And before that, she did You Ain't No Cop, Jay Reed. And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it after that. Yeah.
I Fight the Power. Yeah, it was
In Too
1975.
Deep.
Yeah. A couple of things I wanted to get to. Female screenwriters have only won Academy Awards twice. The last time was 2017. I felt like that was a huge fact right there.
Well, that's when because then they started having that. Well, then it wasn't really black women at that point, but then they started having pretty much a women's resurgence. You know, they were saying hire women writers, but that was probably a few years ago before the pandemic. They were kind of pushing for that.
Yeah, they were. That's when they started doing that. Roberta Flack. Okay, Roberta Flack is the person who I recently saw in an interview who said she fired Luther Vandross because he refused to step out. She was like, I had to fire him because he was not gonna go out.
Right. She had she had to inadvertently push him.
Yeah.
Oh, you said she had to fire him so he would go out on his own.
Yeah, she was like, he was content being Luther Vandross, and she was like, either her, Roberta, or Stephanie Mills said they fired him and was like, look, dude, and they was talking him, saying, hey, man, she was Nia Long was Charlie's Angel.
Oh, Charlie's Angel?
I saw her with Drew Barrymore recently, and they was like, her eyebrows were too fancy.
Oh,
what?
My gosh.
That's what Nia Long said.
Like H-Rap said, I can't make this up.
Get out of here with that.
I can't make this
Get out of here with that.
I can't make this up.
Yeah. She said, they said Nia looked too much older than Drew Barrymore and her eyebrows were too fancy. That is a quote.
Nia Long would have been the finest one on there.
That's why she wasn't on there.
That's why, because y'all would have looked like scraps standing behind.
You should have saved it for my squad then. Get out of here, bro.
Man,
eyebrows too fancy.
Yeah, I did like the Marvin Gaye aspect of what he touched on. The soundtracks of Marvin Gaye, the films.
Remember, I told you Barry Gordy didn't want him releasing that album. What's going on? But he had it
for 2 years.
That's why I was also telling Ben when I see people in these comments talking about, oh, I don't want to watch that movie. It's too woke. I was like, movie's been woke. What are you talking about?
Right.
I was like, the very person that's saying this probably has a Marvin Gaye album and you're a European.
Yep. Cole Sports.
Yeah. Luther played never too much for Roberta, and she pushed him out front.
Yep.
I mean, the minute that he stepped on
never
the
too
scene,
much. Oh gosh, what?
Yeah.
Never too much. That's all.
Yeah, the minute he stepped on the scene, he was a star. They knew it.
Right. Oh, they already knew. The man's voice was ridiculous. Is he Big Luther or is it Small Luther? Because either way,
he was still killing.
Either way, he was still Luther.
That's a black inside joke too.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, Wilkes mentioned Trouble Man, and he flashed that across the screen.
I couldn't believe it, and that's an album that's underrated. They don't even talk about that album.
Yep.
People don't realize that album is a movie.
Yeah. Trouble Man and Here My Dear are two of his best pieces of work.
Yeah. Was that the one where they kind of had like the Roman cover.
Yeah,
Hear
that's
My
him. I
Dick,
did. That's him.
like
I
a
did.
Roman-esque cover.
And man, that was a cold blooded album.
Yeah.
And when we go to the back room, I'm gonna tell y'all why. I will never say nothing bad about Marvin Gaye. If I wanted to, I could. He's super dope. He's super dope. But this is selective outrage. That's what we'll talk about in the back.
Yeah. And Marvin Gaye has the best, hands down, rendition of the national anthem ever. Ever. I don't care what anybody says. Yes. Boy, that dude, I think it was so smooth. That dude had a beat machine doing the national anthem, man.
It's like a racehorse. It keeps going back and forth. We don't know.
That dude.
I ain't saying it is. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh yeah.
But now, you know what? That never comes up. So I would say Marvin Gaye probably has the best rendition because Whitney's never comes up when they mention Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, they talk about it.
Hey, pull up your phone and pull up views on Whitney Houston's national anthem.
I'm sure it's probably.
I'm sure Marvin Gaye's got like millions, bro.
Hey, wait till you see how many Whitney got.
I'm
probably
sure.
Stupid, ridiculous.
It's insane.
I'm sure. Man, you type in Whitney, that's the first thing to come up.
Now look how many views it got.
1.1 million.
1. Oh wow!
A year ago.
This other one got 42 million.
How many? Well, this says 1.1.
This somebody else posted it like 10 years ago, and the thing has got 42 million.
Look at this dude, man. That is so wrong with this cat, man.
This on great. Drugs. Actually, Fergie had the best.
Well, this one was posted a year ago, and it's already got 1.1 million on it.
No. Wow. Is that million or bill?
No, million. Now, somebody had, I see the one Ben talking about 42 million. Somebody got a 2.6 million.
Let's go. Marvin Gaye.
Michael Jackson's Super Bowl, he got 68 million.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So Marvin Gaye has 2.3 million, 10 million on a different one.
I think it depends on who's posting it.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on your vibe.
Yeah.
Because Whitney Houston obviously was a vocal legend.
Hey,
Marvin Gaye was
y'all
just
want
so
a fun
smooth
fact
with
about
it.
that?
Yeah.
She pre-recorded that. She didn't sing it live.
What?
That is not a live. She said she was too
loud. They made it seem like she sang that.
I can kind of see. Well, that's what the power. So did Milli Vanilli. I mean,
no, but she actually sang it though. No. But she said she was too nervous. She said she was doing practice. She was just too nervous. So they said, just go ahead, kill it.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
Yeah, wow. I don't see the one with Billion, but hell, I wouldn't doubt it. It's Whitney Houston. I wouldn't. Yeah, is her movie out? That movie they were doing? And of course, I think about H-Rap now because how he said, what's his name? How he's just the biggest snake in music radio.
Yeah, Clive Davis.
Clive Davis? Yeah.
Clive Davis. Hey,
I can see it. Oh, absolutely.
If you ever want to find out how much of a snake Clive Davis is, watch the Unsung with Sly Stone and watch the Unsung with George Clinton. Clive Davis could promote my podcast, and I'll be like, nah, bro, I don't want to down the bathroom.
Ain't gonna touch that one. Touch that one, bro.
Yeah, and I think I've seen both of those. And yeah, that dude is definitely a snake.
Now that H-Rap and Cole has mentioned that, if you go back and watch her singing that, it doesn't sound like it doesn't. The way she's delivering it
doesn't sound like it's outside.
It doesn't sound like the sound is coming from her.
Yeah,
it's like wow. You can tell.
Man, y'all just dropped the nugget. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marvin's rendition even better because that was live. I mean, it didn't even sound like it was a national anthem. It sounded like he was freestyling a song.
Jimi Hendrix version doesn't even come up in conversation, and that was a guitar solo. And they don't even talk about.
He was flat. If y'all peeped, he was flashed in this too.
Oh,
yeah, real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah, just real quick. It was a young Jimmy. It was real quick.
It was like and then it was it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the why he showed him either. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like real quick. It was like
That's
the
what I'm
first,
saying,
like,
dude. He should stick to critique and stuff.
Yeah.
We
A couple of other.
We need to reach out to Netflix and see if we can do something.
Right,
If
exactly.
we got money for this,
Exactly.
we can get paid.
man, hey, Netflix, hey, man. Hey, say, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A couple of facts right here I wanted to get to. Shaft saved MGM from bankruptcy. Did y'all know
saw
that?
But he flashed that quickly. He didn't go
Yeah.
into that. He flashed
that was just kind of a fun fact he just did.
Before you got on, you know who I compared this dude to? Gates.
Who's that? Who?
Gates.
Henry Louis Gates.
Oh,
His arch nemesis.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
He said, Wilkes, my cousin,
yeah.
played Jimmy's version.
Jimmy, and that's why I said Jimi Hendrix version never comes up. Ever.
Yeah.
But it's a great version, but it never comes up in conversation. Ever.
And a parallel to Shaft saving MGM was Blade. Yep, exactly. Blade saving Marvel.
Yeah,
Marvel wouldn't be what it was today.
Because Marvel was, matter of fact, Marvel was going bankrupt, and that's why Sony ended up. That's why their stuff went to Sony and Fox,
right?
Because they could not afford to hold on to these subsidiaries, so they had to sell these characters. But then, of course, then Disney steps in, and it's like now Marvel wants to buy everybody back. So
right.
But this documentary was interesting, and I have to say, when I saw it was 2 hours, I was like kind of defeated. I was like, oh, God.
Wow, Amazon just purchased MGM? Wow.
I hadn't heard that one. I wouldn't doubt it.
Wow, I would not doubt it.
To Big Illinois' point, I wouldn't doubt it because they said they were trying to purchase AMC during the pandemic.
Oh, you're right.
Because AMC was going under the movie theaters.
Right, you're right. I'm not surprised. He's trying to buy the Commanders. I don't know that. I don't think that's officially been sold yet.
Would not doubt it.
I almost said Western Knights. Sylvester Stallone's Commanders?
No, the football team.
Bezos.
Bezos is trying to buy the Commanders.
What's the movie Wesley Snipes had with all the old dudes?
Oh, Expendables.
Yeah. That's what I thought you said.
What's good, CJ?
I forgot the question.
It said Amazon. Oh, they did it last year. It said Amazon closes $8.5 billion acquisition of MGM.
That was quiet. I don't remember seeing that. Appreciate that, Big Illinois.
That was very quiet.
He just said this nigga Ivan's somewhere trying to riz up on Riri as we speak. He probably is.
That's kind of low for MGM, ain't it?
I know.
Amazon 8.45.
Why would you not sell it to Warner Brothers?
No, but I'm just saying, $8 billion.
$8 billion, $8 billion for MGM.
Right. They must
have
buy the Cowboys for that.
That must have been in the toilet.
That's that. Yeah, you can own a football team, but I don't know, man.
Daniel Snyder still owns.
They must have been hurting 8.5. And then you got James Bond, one of your biggest top merchandise selling, one of your biggest. Really?
Yeah.
MGM?
Yeah, that's kind of low. I mean, I would assume that.
Because Disney, when they bought Marvel and they bought Star Wars, hell, it was like $46 billion.
Now, Star Wars, of course, but
absolutely, yeah. I mean, George Lucas ain't made nothing since then. I mean, why?
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 He just made TV shows and
the Black Woman, dog.
Yep. Which she's a CEO, Mattel. Is it Mattel?
She's a beast.
Oh yeah,
she's from the
billionaire. Yeah, he know better. He ain't going to
from Chicago.
Yeah, he like Stedman. He know better, man. He know better. Stedman got the best.
Disney, wow! Disney paid $76 billion.
That's what I'm saying.
See, that's what I'm saying. MGM.
When you got Bond and other movies, 8.5.
Yeah, those old though. When Bond movies is old.
Well, MGM probably got a lot of racist library too. That's probably what it is.
You say what?
They probably got a lot of racist movies like Gone with the Wind. I'm kind of like,
hey, man. They still selling them joints.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To this day.
I need to get that drop. I need to get that drop.
Yeah. Straight up.
Here was a quote by Tamara Dobson. He said, "Progress must be slow for it to be definite." This was in Doc's comments, which definitely illustrates BS3 Network. Man, start off slow, but when you get to that peak,
it's like gumbo, man.
It's
like gumbo. You gotta get that roux, man. You gotta get that roux right, man. You can't burn the roux, baby.
Yeah. Cornbread, Earl, and meat, which he talked about that.
That sounds familiar. Did he mention that in the movie?
Wilkes.
He did.
Wilkes. And Fishburne.
That's a big movie right there.
And Fishburne said Cornbread, Earl, and me it was his relation to Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
When Ricky got shot.
Oh, yeah.
Classic
right there, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was saying these movies. It literally, I have to say, watching this, I will say it made me remember. And like I tell my son, and I mentioned this before, nothing is written just because they pulled it out of the air. Right. It's been inspired by something. It's got a blueprint from, and you know, I'm not trying to say recreate another Sidney Poitier, but it's like he laid the blueprint. So it's like build from that kind of thing, you know. But it definitely. I mean, these movies, when I look at it, I'm still blown away by Hit with Billy D. Williams, because I'm like, I've watched many movies that echo that movie where, oh, my daughter died on your drugs that you peddling into the black community, right? And now I'm out for revenge. I've seen that so many different times. It was just like seeing Billy D in that role. I was like, oh, I need to watch this because I was
beating that dude up in the back of that car.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just waiting for the Code 45 commercial. That's what I was waiting for.
Hey man,
turn to the camera.
Please, somebody explain to me why he showed Ron O'Neal jump that gate.
Oh my god! And he fought. You know that brother running in the platform boots. Man. Come on, stop it.
I'm like, hey, Ron O'Neal jumped the gate. I'm like, what the heck? What?
What they got to do with anything?
But they claim, but he claimed that was one of the best. What is it? What did he say?
Chase scenes or something? He said.
Yeah,
he said it was one of the. He said it's the best chase scenes ever. I don't know how that can't be true. It can't be true. Yeah, I've never heard that. That can't be true.
Fool ain't never seen Truck Turner then, man. And then why did he show Joe Green on that motorcycle 3 or 4 times?
But like Ben said, I think it was the movies that he gravitated toward.
He wanted to
show. He shouldn't have a lot of Freddie Williams movies in here, bro.
I said that too.
But he didn't even give Fred the props he deserved. Y'all know I ain't no Fred fan.
Yeah, I couldn't wait till today because I was like, Fred was all over this, man.
He kept touching on it, but he wouldn't go into it. Then he got the Black Caesar, and then that was it after that. But
right, man. I mean, Black Caesar, man. Come on, man. Big Boss, man. Come on, man. Yeah. Hey, man. We need to put something together for Netflix, man. Because
so can we actually say that, like, I'm gonna get you, sucker, kind of pulled from those?
Oh yeah,
I would say so. I'm gonna get you.
Sucker watching this, yeah. Even from
think about it. Kung Fu Joe was Jim Kelly.
Yep.
Fly Guy was Antonio Fargas. You know, he was a Huggy Bear.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. He didn't. Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch.
Jack Slade was Fred Williamson.
Oh, and then
and Jim Brown played himself.
And then Spencer. What was that movie? What was that show back in the day? Spencer
for Hire and Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk. You had Hawk. I mean,
yeah.
Come on, man. And Hawk, he was like the essence of cool. I mean, he was like popping up randomly with the sunglasses. Like what?
And then Isaac Hayes and Jim Brown played themselves. Jim Brown and Isaac Hayes, they played Truck Turner. Isaac Hayes and Jim Brown played a bunch of dudes. Yeah, he played a bunch of dudes Jim Brown played.
That's why I said I watching this took me back because my dad had these movies, my mom and my grandparents had the soundtracks on vinyl.
Vinyl albums.
Them in the closet, man. What you talking about? Like, which it definitely for me, which I didn't realize, these soundtracks, like they said, Curtis Mayfield's soundtrack was out like before the movie was even out.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't really do that too much anymore. It's more like the movie's out. Here's the soundtrack.
Yeah,
But
the
Curtis
soundtrack comes
Mayfield
out
was like,
after the movie. Yeah.
yeah, it was like, here's the soundtrack. Now wait for the movie.
What
You
I
know,
want to do is give Curtis Mayfield his peas as the prince of his day.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Facts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Facts.
No, absolutely. Curtis
Yeah.
Mayfield, another
Yeah.
underrated music
Legend.
producer,
Legend.
pretty much.
Now,
Hey,
one thing that kind of pointed out to me, Thomasine and Bushrod, which was Max Julian. I
Mhm.
thought Max Julian was only the Mac. I thought that was his I don't know, I'm sure he had other films, but that's the only thing I knew him for.
I
So
didn't realize he directed. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably living off that Thomasine and Bushrod movie because I remember that movie, but because if you paid for it, it's yours. That's why I was saying.
Yeah.
I remember last week I was saying I was disappointed in Dr. Dre for selling part of his catalog.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm not selling nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
you
and
think-
that's
you
what
think-
I kind of hated about Prince catalog because his
Yeah.
sister or his
Sister,
stepdaughter
yeah,
had
whoever.
his sister.
Yeah, as soon as he passed, he never put anything on streaming service. And like as soon as he passed, his stuff was on streaming service.
It's everywhere now.
I mean, yeah.
Look at
Yeah,
Michael
he
Jackson.
not here. He not here to
No.
defend himself.
Yeah.
So
Michael Jackson family sold most of his catalog for $700 million now.
Was it sold to Sony, wasn't it?
Yeah, they sold it back to them.
Yeah, sold it back to Sony Music.
You could be getting paid into perpetuity, man.
Right. Because trust me, as soon as you drop one of them songs in a movie, royalties. I'm gonna need that.
Yeah.
Now you got no control over it. That's why Paul McCartney was so upset with Michael Jackson for the longest, because he was getting royalties off the Beatles' music. And I was like, well, I mean, you didn't want it, so I'm gonna take it.
I wonder if they ever owned it. Maybe the Beatles never owned it.
No, they did
He
because
probably
They
bought
did
it
because
from
Michael
the record.
Jackson bought it.
Yeah,
he
Paul
bought it from
McCartney
the
went to
label.
Michael Jackson for a loan. He was like, I ain't got it. And then he said, because I don't have it.
I tell you what.
He died.
Yeah, I was like, I tell you what, sell me your library, and I'll go from there. And I think Apple owns it now, but
Yeah.
that was crazy. Michael Jackson wasn't he wasn't too crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
he wasn't stupid. Nah,
I'm gonna need that.
I'm gonna need that.
Hey, and that mask thing don't seem so crazy either, do it?
No, not at all. It doesn't.
Now we touched on this earlier. A-Bar, the first black Superman. I didn't know that existed. Wilkes. I wanted to ask you about that.
The funny thing is, when I saw that, I couldn't believe he was actually mentioning that or brought it up, because my grandfather was telling me about that as a kid, because he knew I was in the Superman, but he was like, well, look at this. And then the fact that they even implemented Captain America's story into it. That's why when I see stuff like this and people get upset when, Superman's not a black, I'm like, man, stop, man. Yeah. I was like, we've got to, like he said, we've got to have representation of ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it for us. But A-Bar, oh gosh, I would love to own a copy of that because I'm pretty sure there's an independent black company out there, because there are black comic book companies out there. I'm wondering if somebody may have written a version of that. I would love to own a physical copy of it, but I'd like to watch the movie again. I've watched it before. I've seen it. I mean, for just seeing that, like, once again, it's like, wow, it's not just the Jewish guy or the white guy or Italian guy that's got superpowers.
Right.
There's a black woman, there's a black man that has superpowers, that has an ability. So yeah, I would love to actually own a copy of it, or if one of those black independent comic companies, if they've had somebody like redo it or
look into Black Sands.
I'll have to check that out.
Definitely. No, I'm saying check with them. They may have.
That's what I said. I may have to check with them. I forgot about Black Sands. Yeah, I'll have to check them out.
And even with A-Trap's point earlier, the original Captain America was black, which that went into
and that's
Winter
what
Soldier.
I liked about, well, that's what I liked about Captain was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yep.
Because originally he was a black man. I mean, they have illustrated artwork of Captain America black.
Right.
No, here go the crazy part. The dude who is Captain America, he only left that Manhattan apartment that he's always looking out the window at. He only left it one time.
Yeah.
And that was to go to T'Challa and Storm's wedding.
And that was it. And that was it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Like I said, it's like Whoopi Goldberg said, nobody wants to upset the white people. But unfortunately, it's not that I'm upsetting you. These are just facts.
Right. and like she also said, everybody wants a black person. Like they showed that film of the guy, it was a vampire, it was a zombie movie.
Oh, yes.
And she was like, everybody wants the black dude on their side.
Yeah.
But that dude ended up dying in that movie. But so
Crazy.
Glenn, shout out to Glenn Thurman. I'm glad they put him in here. Really talking about his journey, how he said he was almost done. I mean, and I think he got a call for some films. I didn't get the guy's name.
Serpent's Egg.
Yeah, he was working with a director.
1975, I think he mentioned.
Yeah. So that was really dope to see. And I remember him really from Different World. That's how I knew him.
Yeah.
That's how I knew
I didn't know he was married to
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, Aretha Franklin, yeah.
I heard he was dropping them Fifth Ward B's on her, boy.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah,
boy, I swing them up blood fluke.
yeah, but shout out to Glenn Thurman.
Yeah, I heard he was Marlon Wayans in real life.
Maybe he was the Marlon Wayans in that movie. No, because they did get married, so maybe that was him. All right, so let's get to the rating, or let's get to some final thoughts. Now, I wanted to do the Metacritic and those ratings. 7.3 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100%.
No.
I am shocked.
No,
I am shocked. Metacritic.
The only reason it probably got 100% because those movies took people down memory lane. That's the only thing I can think.
Because they're critics. So
yeah, no way.
That's probably why.
This
Metacritic 83% and Google users 98%. So I'm definitely shocked on that.
In the words of Wiley from the Boondocks, y'all gay.
Yeah, this is no, I can't. Yeah. This is definitely a 3.5 mics for me. Let's just get it out the way.
Let's get it out the way.
2.5 for me.
You said 2.5?
2.5.
I give it 3.5. And the only reason I say that because I remember Saturday mornings watching these as a kid. Those things were nostalgia for me. My grandfather watching them with me. Soul Train coming on. Those things for me because of the way I was raised. It's like we didn't have anything, but my parents, my grandparents made it seem like we had everything. So these things were nostalgia to me. So I know it's probably cheesy for me to give it a 3.5, but those things just took me back to my childhood. I mean, my grandparents dying of age and sickness, heart failure, my grandfather and my grandmother having cancer. I would do it all over again because watching these with them, I mean, I was literally like, man, I remember watching these on Saturday, man. This was the thing, man.
Yeah.
This was the thing. So it was great to see some of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3. I felt like it wasn't obviously it wasn't great.
Yeah,
it wasn't horrible.
It was kind of all over the place.
It was kind of in the middle. I think I love the nostalgia. Like I said, we reviewed some of these movies. Claudine. Yeah. There was some other movies in here that we reviewed, which, like I said earlier, I was proud that some of these films we reviewed. And we're going to review, more of these in the future. So, but I think a 3 is fair. It was kind of all over the place, which I think we've all
because he also kept reviewing. He kept going back to movies he had mentioned before. I'm like, why do you keep circling back to these? You've already mentioned that.
What I said before you got on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I give it a 2.5, man. I mean, like I said earlier, it's like he opened up an Encyclopedia Britannica for black movies and just dumped it on us. Yeah. It was like you said, Wilkes. It took me back to when me and my sisters, we would go over our cousin's house on a Friday evening, like my aunt Constance. Right. And it's literally like 20-something kids in the crib watching ironically, watching a 19-inch TV with that Jiffy Pop popcorn. I was there. I was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
that stuff took me back.
Yeah, it took me back, but it was just like, nah, man, you ain't do this justice because
right. Yeah, and it's
it
like
was sloppily done.
Yeah.
So that's why I think 2.5 is average.
Yeah.
Like
I said, hopefully
he could have. Yeah, he definitely could have done better, and like I said, he could have done better with less instead of it being more, and dumping everything in there. So
I think if it was better done, we wouldn't have noticed it was 2 hours because it was enough material to be 2 hours and quality.
Yeah,
it just shows and it shows why critics should shut the H up.
Right. Yeah.
Because here was your chance to show all the directors, all the that I could do what y'all did, dude, and they probably sitting back going, "No, you can't."
Right, like needed stuff.
Right. All right. So coming up next week, we're gonna come at you with Teddy Pendergrass. If you don't know me, on Showtime. You must have seen it already because that chuckle. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I know I'm just waiting to see who the hell is Harold Melvin. I thought he was Harold Melvin when you hear all these songs. So I'm interested to see that part. But Teddy Pendergrass, if you don't know me,
I mean, I want to say I don't know if Unsung Hero did anything, but I want to say there was a YouTube video, but it made it seem like when I first listened to this at a family reunion, I'm thinking, well, is Teddy Pendergrass? Who's Harold Melvin? Because
this dude
was just Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes, and then all of a sudden Teddy Pendergrass like divided. It was almost like Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. It was like, what is going on? So
look at it this way: Cool was the drummer from Kool and the Gang.
Yeah. That's true.
But Harold Melvin did take a lot of credit for Teddy Pendergrass singing like that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, he did. Absolutely. After he realized, wait a minute, these chicks coming in. Let me shut up.
Unlike Cool.
Oh, and by the way, back to this movie.
Happy doing this.
Back to this documentary. Didn't even mention how like he used a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire in this documentary.
Yeah.
A lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
He did touch on that, how they made the soundtrack that they made.
Yeah.
Was the best soundtrack ever made.
Melvin Van Peebles movie.
Yeah. So there could have been some other things done. But I'm looking forward to next week for sure. Teddy Pendergrass, definitely one of my favorite artists.
It's on Showtime?
That is on Showtime. So you can check that out. So tomorrow on End of the Bench.
Good question.
Oh, I wanted to ask A-Trap this. I'm sorry, A-Trap. I know you're going into your segue here. But did you see this DeSantis BS that's going on in Florida? Now all of a sudden it's optional and not optional.
Right.
What is happening right now? What is happening?
Yeah, man. DeSantis. No, because what he did was attempt to use the anti-LGBTQ crew against Black studies. And when you do that and it backfires, you look like the fool that you are. Let's not forget, this is a dude who on national television, on CNN, did not know how to use a COVID mask. He literally put it on like this.
Yeah, this is true.
Oh, this is a dude. This is a dude that I mean, I think he dug his own grave because I think he said, because what he did was 2 weeks ago when he signed it into law, he said, see, they're teaching gay stuff to Black kids. What does gay have to do with Black history? And I was like, okay, we good now because the gay people are going to get in on this.
Right. Absolutely. It's just like when they want Black voting. I'm sorry, the Black community, the Black gay community. It's another
wing.
wing of within itself. Like,
Right, right.
you want those votes again?
And they always come up with some plan. They want to come in the hood and shake
Go to
hands
your
and
church
give out.
and all.
Yeah. I'm tired of that, man.
Stop.
Don't come to my church trying to tell me.
You know what's sad about the Republican Party? In writing, like okay, what I'm gonna preface it by saying this. On paper, communism works.
Right.
It makes all the sense in the world.
Right.
And just like that, on paper and in theory, Black people are the most conservative people in the United States of America. And if the Republican Party ever paid attention, they could just swoop in and rock, and they go and just lie. Like, see, we with y'all. We would agree with that too. Because we physically conservative. We love Jesus.
Yeah.
And I mean,
you love your version of Jesus.
Right. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
You start talking about Jesus, and you're gonna get Black people in, but then y'all got to go. But he was white, and then we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So, right.
But I have a guest tomorrow. My homeboy's daughter. She does a lot of work with domestic violence. She's gonna be on, and I don't have a clue on what I'm talking about. To be perfectly honest with you. I mean, usually I have a semblance of an idea. I have one idea from a Carter G. Woodson quote. He says, if you teach, he said, when you educate, you must not only educate the mind, you must educate the morality of people. Yeah. And if you don't, you'll have chaos. And that's what we're living in right now. We have people who are book smart, but they have no moral value. They have no moral compass. And that's why you can have people like Governor DeSantis and the governor in Texas and the governor in Arizona. The governor.
They'll eat it up every time because they don't know how to decipher it for themselves.
Because they have no moral compass.
They can't distribute it without somebody, look, you should put it over here. And then it's like, oh, yeah, look what he said.
Right. So hopefully I can build at least 30 minutes off of that. Because
I think you'll be good.
As they say in the church, that'll preach right there.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like you said, Will, it's been so much foolish and madness that come about in the last month. Just the last month.
We're not even into summertime Eve yet.
Right.
Coming up on May.
Bro, we ain't even in. We only a month in the winter.
we are really a month into the year.
You got elections. You got runoffs kicking up in 2024. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I don't have a clue on what I'm talking about because it's so much. I am gonna say something about, like, I spoke about this at church yesterday. I'm gonna do something about Carter G. Woodson because I started this campaign when I switched from sports to community empowerment. It annoys me. It's like chalk on nails on the chalkboard. When people say, why we gotta have Black History Month in February? They gave us the shortest month. No, we took this month because we wanted to celebrate Frederick Douglass. And at the time, we didn't realize how complicated Abraham Lincoln was. So their birthdays are allegedly close. Frederick Douglass picked Valentine's Day because when he was born into enslavement, so you just had to pick you. They would name, like in some cases, they would just name you the month you were born in.
Right.
You would be like I would be August.
Right.
So he was February. And
that's become a pet peeve of mine too, because we so good with saying that. They gave us the shortest month. No, that's what we took. They didn't give us nothing. They don't ever give us anything.
Right. They didn't give us nothing.
They didn't give us those what was it, representations?
The 40 acres and a mule.
They sure gave it to the white people that let them go though. Well, we're real sorry about that. We're gonna pay.
Sorry about those people you owned.
Right.
Exactly. So I'll figure out something by 6 o'clock tomorrow, but I know my homeboy's daughter, she does a lot with women violence, and we're gonna talk for about 20 minutes, half hour. Then I got a half hour to fill. But other than that, I
There's
don't.
a lot been going on.
Right, it's just so much going on. I don't know
Everybody's been distracted by this Chinese balloon, this spy balloon.
Right.
Come on.
Another stupid distraction that
Come on, man.
people off course.
If you know, it's just like if you guys get a chance, I would recommend that you check out the show from Friday. And it was one of the dudes I grew up with, and he showed you how people only, and I mentioned it. It's ironically, I mentioned it Tuesday. I said we will continue to be stuck in the mud until we stop listening. And listening, when we start listening with our minds and start looking with our minds. And people, if people don't understand that,
right?
When
it's two different things. Yeah, the window of the mind. Yeah, it's two different things. Yeah, your
eyes will see anything. And then he even went through this. And when he was on, he did this exercise. He was doing this. He said, "Okay, do this, do this, do this." And I was doing. He said, "Now touch your chin." And he did this. And I was listening, not touching my chin.
Right.
He said, "Man, you're the only person that ever did it. Most people follow this. See you touch your jaw and touch your jaw." And that was exactly what I was talking about, listening with your mind and not with your ears and your eyes.
Right.
Because when you listen with your mind, it allows you to imagine.
Right.
That's why we're here, because we listened with our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, imagination is an underrated thing. It's definitely something that you have to keep feeding, you have to keep thriving with, because it will die off.
It will. And ironically, and we're talking about these movies from the 70s. My son he's going to be 30 this year. He's 29 as we speak. And I remember maybe he was about 17, 18. And we used to have this thing. Me and BJ would watch movies every Friday.
Yeah.
And he would pick some of the worst movies in history of the world. And I know he's watching stuff. But no, I remember we watched an X-Men movie or something. He said, "How did you like it?" I was like, "It was dope, man." We watched Days of Future Past. He said, "How did you like
that's pretty good. That was pretty good."
And I was like, "It was dope." I say, "But it kind of bothers me." He was like, "Why?" He said, "Man, I thought you liked it." I said, "I do like it." I said, "But it bothered me simply because you are not using your imagination anymore." He was like, "What you mean?" And I showed him the $6 Million Man.
Right.
And he was like, "This sucked, man." I was like, "No, it doesn't suck."
No.
I said, when me and my buddies would watch this, we would come outside the next day and run and slow
reenact it. Yes.
I say it triggered our imagination.
Lee Majors, baby. Lee
hotter
Majors.
than Lil Wayne. He was hotter than Lil Wayne. I'm telling you. Jay-Z and Lil Wayne ain't got nothing on Lee Majors.
I mean, and to H-Rap's point, I mean, when we watch stuff like that, like The Flash or Superman or Batman, we went outside and we were I mean, just like with cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, you know, Native Americans. Sorry. But it's one of those things like you reenacted what you just saw on TV. Yeah, you thought your dog was like Lassie. You was telling your dog to go over here. Like,
sit down.
Yeah. Right.
And
I don't
dog
think
looking at you like,
yeah.
What you mean sit down? You don't even walk me.
Yeah. Who you talking to?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when I was growing up, that was the thing. You just watch Superman. You just watch Batman on TV.
How many of us got got chunks of meat kicked out of our mouths from karate moves?
Come on. Exactly. Especially wrestling moves. You trying to suplex somebody off the bunk bed?
DDT,
come on. I mean, it was making you use that imagination, like, oh, I am the $1 million man.
Get your boy, man. Get your boy.
It was one of those things.
Hey, man.
Which, you know what, to his point, you would reenact the pimp because you put the sheet on, you got the cane, you get the
cane. Hey, we got to get Illinois on here. Hey, man, for real, if
we do.
Like any of my takes in movies, that Joker right there, he put me on the movies, man.
Big Illinois, man. We gotta get him on, man.
He don't want to be on camera, But I'm telling you,
That's
man,
okay. We
believe it
can
or
like
not,
call or some voice or something.
Yeah, I mean, you could just turn the
Or
video
turn the
off.
camera
yeah,
off.
you can
and
turn the
talk.
camera off.
Yeah,
Just
you
put a
turn the
picture
camera
of
off and
yourself up
talk.
there.
Yeah, man.
I love to get you on, man. I
Hey,
love
man,
to get you on.
that dude,
Yeah,
that's
no,
a that's a
that
movie aficionado right there, man.
Yeah.
If
So
you
I
got a
mean,
movie, if you got
what
a
A-Trap's talking about, I mean, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you went outside, you played
Cops and Robbers, you played
Cops and
Kung
Robbers,
Fu.
The Lone Ranger.
How
you
many bath towels been ruined?
Oh my gosh,
Tied around
Superman,
kids.
Batman. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see kids doing that anymore, man.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
hey,
That
they're
doesn't
gonna know
really
if
exist
you-
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you got a movie
Well,
in mind, a new one or a
let me-
throwback,
let me back up. That doesn't exist anymore because we live in a world of social influence.
Yeah.
Social media, YouTube,
yeah,
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We're not showing those things that the kids would go outside and reenact, like, oh, I'm a king on my throne. I'm wearing a pail bucket on my head, and I got a
Right,
mop.
that's true.
It's just
I got one joke. I got one joke for y'all. Have y'all seen this dude on TikTok that's walking up to these people going, "Hey, can you steal this for me?"
I
ain't seen that.
Man.
I
And he
ain't
would
seen
walk
that
up to an older woman. He was like, "Hey, I was just talking to this dude over here, and he said you was over here stealing. Can you steal this for me?"
No, I hadn't seen.
Nah, I had not
I hadn't
seen
seen
that
that one.
Wow.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I hadn't
Wow.
seen that one.
And then he walks up to this white woman and says, Hey, I see you got some chicken. Do you need some help? She's like, huh? He's like, black people, we good at making chicken.
Oh my!
Oh
God.
wow.
But he reminds me of this stupid stuff that I do occasionally. I used to walk up to security in stores and be like, hey, can you help me? And they're like, yeah. Hey, what's the best aisle to steal out of?
Dude, look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
They'd be like, hey, man.
Like, get out of here,
Now,
man.
where the camera's not pointing at.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Help me out, man.
Tell me which
then,
one will not go off.
Even to this day, I still do this. I go, hey, man, like if I go, like, lottery, like $400 trillion, I go in the head, hey, man, let me get a, whatever, like a Powerball ticket. Don't hit the he black button. But here's the thing. They never look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And like if I have somebody on the phone, I'm like, hey, notice he ain't say nothing. And they'll just look at me like, how you know? I'm like,
like he didn't, it's like, oh, I didn't go with it. Wait a minute. Like, how you know that?
How did he know about the he ain't? Yeah, I say I know.
He ain't black button.
Yeah, don't hit the he black button, man. And give me a Powerball ticket. Don't hit the he black button. I say it every time, man.
Throw them off.
Yeah.
And they just look at me like, how you know?
Another great show. Is it black enough for you? Make sure to check that out. Like I said, watch the first hour. If you want to venture past the first hour, go ahead. Maybe have it on while you. This is one of those you can.
Second hour.
This is one of those you can have on while you cleaning and stuff. Because you don't
even have to look at the screen. You might look at it every now and then.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to be watching.
Yeah, you could have listened to this.
Yeah, right. This could have been a podcast.
I'm gonna have to look up that Diane Sands Joan of Arc though. I didn't realize she played Joan of Arc.
Yeah, me either.
I didn't realize that. I'm gonna have to watch that one.
Man, they need to have 3 the hard way on one of these joints.
Oh, 3 the hard way. Oh yeah, they definitely need.
When you kick Buddy over that cutlass, class.
Which is probably on YouTube, but everything's on YouTube.
Tubi, maybe it's on Tubi.
It may be. I wouldn't doubt it.
Man, Tubi ain't on black folks, man. Hey, you know what? This is a joint called Brown Sugar. It's probably on there.
Yeah, 3 the hard way. I don't say where you can watch it at. It's got to be somewhere though.
Got to be somewhere.
Probably YouTube. Probably YouTube.
But Brown Sugar, every time I download it, I can't use it.
It kicked me out. Like what?
I'm about to say what happened. I heard the noise. I was like, what happened to him?
Like what is going on?
All right, so we're gonna round it out. We'll be back next week. Now, the reason why Doc is not here, he is in Arizona at the Super Bowl. We did a show this week earlier today at about 2 Central. We're gonna try to do that every day this week, just to give you guys an update on what he's doing and what's going on. One picture I wanted to pull up The guy to the
man.
left is Scott Farrell on the bench. He's one of the big time sports podcasters and radio personalities that are out there. He's now a part of Sports Grid, so Doc was able to get in touch with him and take a picture. So if anybody knows Doc, he personality, Mr. Personality, so he's gonna be all over the place. So
I wonder if 105.3 is there.
Yeah, they're there. Well, I think they're on their way there. They'll be broadcasting tomorrow.
Oh man, he go find them. Trust me.
Yeah.
The
ticket.
Kevin Grader.
Nah, Kevin does a night the set, so I don't think they take the night people. So, but shout out to Kevin Grado, man. Every time I listen to the radio and I hear him, man, I'm like, that dude made it, man. That dude made it, man. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Make sure to follow all BS3 Network platforms. We'll have some photos and interviews and all types of stuff from the Super Bowl. So make sure to check that out. And A-Trap, as you always do, go ahead and close us out.
Salute to Reggie O'Shea, aka Combat Jack, by saying dream your dreams and man up and woman up and live your dreams, because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in Technicolor surround sound. And y'all know, some of y'all just got them W-2s last week. So if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And I ain't doing my taxes to Mars. So if you need it, get it from God.
Get it from God. Peace.